Hi there Booktube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for my Friday Reads video. But before we start going into the books that I've read this week, I just wanted to tell you my Booktuber shout out for the week. This week I want to shout out Hannah Lamb of channel of the same name. I recently found her channel and it's brilliant. She's got really interesting taste in books and she recently posted a tag video of the time and place tag and I just thought it was lovely to see. It was really informative, really interesting to hear about the books that have meant things to her over the years, and I just love watching her channel. It's a new favourite of mine and she definitely deserves more subscribers, so I encourage you to go and check her out. So let's get into the books. I'm recording this a little bit early because as you watch this, I'm currently in Dorset with my family, with my mum and dad and my daughter and my husband, and hopefully enjoying some sunshine, but I'll show you what it's like outside now. Yeah. Not nice now, so hopefully it's sunny while we're there and we're enjoying the beach and a bit of last sunshine before my daughter starts preschool on Monday. So I have recorded this a little bit early, so I may have read a couple of other books, but I wanted to make sure that I had a video going up. I'm going to talk to you about the books I've read, but I'm not going to talk to you about any Man Booker books that I've read because I'm going to be doing a separate video roundup for that once I've read all 5 that I wanted to read off the long list. So let's get into the books that I've read this week that weren't on the Man Booker long list, or weren't books that, as filming this, I haven't read yet, if that makes sense. So, the first book I want to talk about is A Pound of Flesh by Sophie Jackson. Full disclaimer, I received this as a free copy via Bookbridger, and I picked this up because it sounded really interesting. I think I'd seen it on Carolyn Storer's channel and she'd talked about it, but I don't think she liked it very much. But it just sounded interesting to me, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I really, really loved this. The story is about Kat, and at the beginning of the book we are with her when she's 9 years old. She's out with her dad and her dad is cruelly and viciously beaten to death in a mugging. She is beaten and her father is telling her to run, and a strange person in a hoodie drags her away from the scene, drags her away into a door front, keeps her safe until the ambulance come, but disappears before the ambulance people can see who it is or before she knows who it is. And so throughout her life people have not quite believed that this person was real. They thought it was a figment of her imagination, but obviously she lived, and her father unfortunately dies. And the majority of this story, or the rest of the story, is about Kat. She's now in her 20s and she's a teacher and she's working at a prison, teaching English to prisoners as part of sort of a rehabilitation tutor programme. In walks Wes Carter, who is an inmate and is needing this sort of English tutorial for his parole, in order to get early parole. And it's just how their lives intertwine and how people aren't always what they seem, and it's a love story and it just touches on some really interesting subjects, and I thought that the chemistry between these two was brilliant. This is a book about family and friendship and love and lust and mystery and betrayal, and I cried and I lusted and I loved it, and I couldn't give it anything less than 5 stars. Next up was a book I was really excited to finally get to, and it's the third in the Faceran trilogy by Emmy Walker, who's also got a Booktube channel. I've read the first 2 books in this trilogy and really, really enjoyed them, and I wanted to know how this fantasy trilogy was going to wrap up, so I was pleased to be reading this and I couldn't put it down. It was a really solid conclusion to a really good fantasy trilogy. I obviously don't want to spoil it because this is the 3rd book, but it's a sort of quest story. It's about a girl who's been living in the human world. She finds out that she belongs to this sort of magical other place and that she's the heir to the throne. Her parents have been killed and overthrown by an evil creature, and she must complete a quest to gain all of her magical abilities to then fight in a battle to take her throne back. It's full of magical and mystical creatures. There's mermaids, there's vampires, there's all sorts of other weird and wonderful creatures. There's a really good group of friends that all travel together. I really enjoyed this, and I ended up giving it 4 stars, and the only reason that I couldn't give it 5 stars was there just wasn't that spark enough of chemistry between the 2 characters, that there's sort of a romantical relationship within this. And although that isn't the main focus of the story, which I liked, there just wasn't enough chemistry between them for me to give it 5 stars. But given that, you know, I still loved this series, and I would definitely recommend it. And also check out Amy Walker's Booktube channel, because it's very good too. Next up was a book that I was sent for review. So full disclaimer, this was a free copy sent to me by the publisher, and it is George by Alex Gino. This is a middle grade book. As you can see, the text is massive, but it is a book that is going straight onto my shelf for Matilda when she grows up, because it's such an important story, and it was a really good read. This is a book on transgender. It's about George. He feels that he is a girl, and he calls himself she all the way through the book, which I found really interesting. And she wants to be Charlotte in their school play of Charlotte's Web, and Charlotte is a girl, and so she's told that she can't be Charlotte. And it is about George's struggle with knowing that he is a girl and all the things that come with that. But what I loved the most about this is it's a really modern story. It shows you that people in your life are not always narrow-minded. It shows that people are accepting and people want to help, and that not everybody out there is going to treat you harshly for just wanting to be who you are and yourself. And I really loved that message in this. I loved that the people in her life didn't treat her any differently, knowing. And the best friend in this story is brilliant. Kelly is such a great best friend. They're only children, and she's like, oh, you want to be a girl? Brilliant. And I just think it's a lovely story, and I really recommend this. If you've got children, or you know people that are reading middle grade, or even for yourself if you read middle grade, I loved this story. And yeah, it's a really great book and a really important message, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book, which I am partway through but no doubt will have finished by the time you're watching this, is The Sweetest Thing by Jill Shalvus. This is a library copy. I read the first book in this series, which is the Lucky Harbour series, last week, and loved it. It's a sort of romance series. It's about 3 sisters who have inherited an inn in a little town called Lucky Harbour, and the first book we followed Maddie and her sort of love interest Jax, and in this story we're following Maddie's sister Tara, who is sort of a Southern belle, and she's had a relationship with someone from the town when she was a lot younger. I'm not going to tell you anything more about that because it will spoil things that came in the first book, but I've heard from a few people that this book is even better than the first, and I loved the first. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving being back in Lucky Harbour, so I'm really enjoying reading this. Also, by the time you watch this, I've hopefully got through a couple of books in the Parasol Protectorate. I read the first book last month, and I am currently trying to get through books 2, 3, 4 and 5, so all the rest of the books in the series over this week or the rest of the month after the Book Buddy-a-thon. But I look forward to seeing you all in the Book Buddy-a-thon. There won't be a Friday Reads from me next Friday. Instead, there'll be my August favourites video, because I'm going to be vlogging the week. So I will be doing a wrap-up of my whole week of the Book Buddy-a-thon and giving you that wrap-up on the Monday afterwards. So I look forward to speaking to you all. Let me know if you've read any of these, what you thought of them, what you've been reading. As always, I'll always like to hear, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, Booktube.